So now we are going to discuss about a very important topic and one of the main pain points of any businessman or entrepreneur. Now, when you say entrepreneur, what are the main objectives of a business or an entrepreneur? The first is to increase your turnover or sales or revenue. The second objective is to reduce the costs. The ultimate goal to maximize the profits and give value to the investors, shareholders, partners, proprietor, or whatever. That is the main objective. All of this looks so simple, right? But then, what is the problem? Why are business owners not able to do such a simple thing? Because it sounds simple, but it is not simple. But it can be made simple. How? But before that, what is the current state of an entrepreneur? He is successful, yet doubtful. Now, when we say doubtful, what do we mean? He has an innate fear of losing control. Other partners or directors, the finance and accounting functions, and he may not be really sure of what is happening. Sometimes entrepreneurs will always try to play safe because they are not sure of what is happening. They are afraid to take decisions, especially when it comes to finance or taxation or accounting. And often entrepreneurs try to avoid interaction with the auditors. They don't want to talk to them because they are afraid. They are always in a state of doubt when it comes to interaction with the auditors and tax consultants. But is this the right way to do things? Obviously, you are very successful, but you are always in a state of doubt. So how should you be? The proper state of an entrepreneur: confident and financially savvy or financially literate. You cannot always keep functioning in a state of doubt. You should know what is happening, right? You should be able to take decisions on your own. When you interact with tax and finance professionals, you should be able to take decisions, talk to them intelligently, understand what they are saying, and then you will be always confident. Only then you will have the ability to achieve your full business potential. You should be capable of taking calculated risks by taking proper decisions. Now we saw two states of mind of an entrepreneur. First, successful but doubtful. And second, he is confident and financially savvy. So how do you move from the first state to the second state? What are the gaps? What are the gaps which prevent you from becoming a confident and a financially savvy person? Obviously, you have to develop certain skills. There are certain gaps and you fill in the gaps and then you become a confident entrepreneur. Now let us see what are these gaps. The first gap is that business owners are expected to comply with various rules, regulations and laws. Maybe it's finance, maybe it is SEBI, maybe it's company law, FEMA or income tax or GST. But there are dozens of laws which a businessman is expected to comply, but there is no one to teach them. How will you know that? If you don't know about that, how will you comply? This is gap number one. Now, how do you solve this gap? Obviously, you have professionals like the chartered accountants or lawyers to help you out. But do you know, there are only 4 lakh chartered accountants in the country. And even out of that, most of them are in employment. There are only a few practicing chartered accountants who act as consultants or advisors. And how many businesses are there? We have more than 6.5 crore businesses. Obviously, the chartered accountants will not be able to help you on your day-to-day affairs of compliance unless you employ them full-time, and they are simply not available. And you are expected to comply with certain things. You cannot go at the end of the year and he tells you, look, these are the laws you have violated. By that time, it's already over. The time is done. So you are supposed to comply with the various laws as and when you are doing business, not at the end of the year. And do you know what is the cost of non-compliance with various laws? It may be a few hundreds to few lakhs or crores. And in some cases, the non-compliance penalty will run on a daily basis like a ticking meter. Every day 200 rupees, every day 500 rupees. You just Google the MCA website or the GST website or income tax website and see what are the penalties for various non-compliance. And gone are the days when you can just do it, do a violation and say, okay, you hope that the department doesn't catch you. Nowadays, things are getting reported on a live basis to the department. Even you may not be aware, but the department knows what is happening in your life. And you cannot take chances of non-compliance, because in serious cases, the non-compliance may result in penalties which will finish your business, or in some cases, it may even lead to prosecution. For what? Not because you wanted to violate, because of simple ignorance. If you had just known that this is a non-compliance, you would not have done it. Ignorance of law is not an excuse. So goes the saying. So you are expected to know certain rules. Let us take the example, simple case. I will not confuse you with various laws in this small video, but let us take an example. Maybe you're just going to sell a piece of land and you get a token advance. Maybe you're taking an advance of 5 lakhs. The property is worth maybe 10 crores. Now, what do you do with this 5 lakhs? Maybe you keep it with you or you deposit in the bank. But when you are actually going to execute the sale deed, you may mention that I have received 5 lakhs in cash. The balance price was received by check. Now, this becomes a documented offense, because any receipt of an advance of more than 20,000 rupees by cash is an offense. Okay, it is an offense. But what is the consequence? You have received 5 lakhs by cash. The penalty is 5 lakhs. Or maybe you have made a sale of your business. Maybe you have made a sale of your product. Some customer walks in and he is asking for some goods you are selling. It is 3 lakhs. And you make us invoice, collect 3 lakhs, deliver the goods. You will say, yes, what is wrong in that? But any sale proceeds in excess of 2 lakhs received by cash is a violation. Let us take another case, maybe GST. Do you know, many entrepreneurs make the mistake of taking the ITC, input tax credit, GST on vehicles is not allowed to be set off against your output tax. So you may buy a car for 40 lakhs, which may contain 10 or 15 lakhs as GST, and you will feel very happy because you don't have to pay GST. There is so much of ITC in the portal, and you may think that you don't have to pay GST in the next few months. But after a couple of years, department can reopen the cases even after 5 or 6 years. You may get a notice, and then they will say, how come you took ITC, input tax credit on this car? It's not eligible. And then you pay back with interest and with penalty. Thing may cross the total value itself. You will be in deep trouble. I'll tell you another thing. Most of the businesses will borrow money from banks or other financial institutions. Banks are ready to lend. But are you over borrowing? If you don't know about that, you may just look at the balance of cash in the bank account and you may start buying some assets. But if you know to read a balance sheet, you know about debt-equity ratio or current ratio. When you look at all these things, then you may understand that, yes, I have over-borrowed, or I have to, it is time for me to repay these loans. I should cut down on my expenses. You can take so many decisions. If you don't do that, it is like driving a car. You want to go to Mumbai. Assume that there is no dashboard in the car, and assume that you are driving in a road which does not contain name boards. You don't have maybe Google Maps. You are just driving, thinking that you are going west, but you may be landing in Calcutta because it is east. You just didn't know. Why? Because there's nothing to see. In the same way, if you say, I don't know about law, I don't know about the basics of GST, I don't know how to read a balance sheet or a ledger, then you are driving like that driver in a car with no name board, no dashboard, nothing. You will not end up where you want. Maybe you will end up by God's grace. Otherwise, it will not be a planned action. There is another interesting concept called Annual Information System, AIS. And by just spending a few minutes monthly or quarterly, you will know what exactly the government is aware of. Do you know that if you log in into the income tax portal and look at the AIS, Annual Information System of the Income Tax Department, you will know what information the department has about you. And if you just look at that, then you yourself will come to know whether the reporting is correct, whether the department's information is correct, or your accounting staff have made a mistake and it is reported wrongly. It contains details of properties purchased or sold by you. It contains your bank balance, how much interest you have earned, how much shares you have traded, what properties you have sold, have you gone abroad on a package tour, or maybe you have purchased a nice apartment. All that information is available in the annual information system. And to look at the annual information system, you don't have to consult your CA. You don't have to take an appointment with your CA and ask them. You just go into your net banking. I'm sure all of you are having net banking facility. Log into your bank website. There will be in every bank website, in every bank website, once you log into the net banking, there is something called the tax corner. If you go into that, it will directly give access to the income tax portal for your PAN number. And there you will know what are the information which the government has. This is a small, simple thing which many entrepreneurs don't know. Now, where do you learn all these things? How do you learn all these things? There are two ways of learning. One is by experience. You suffer, you get a penalty notice from the department, or you incur a loss, and then you become wise, which is obviously a very costly way of learning. You don't want to learn by losing heavily. The second way is to learn in a proper structured way. But where do you learn this? There are no such academies which teach you practical methods of accounting, understanding balance sheet, interpreting the ratios, how to read a ledger, how to understand whether the accountant is doing a good job or not, whether the finance department or the tax department are following the various compliance laws. How do you learn all these things? This is where Accopedia was born. In fact, the story of Accopedia itself is very interesting. Accopedia is founded by a group of chartered accountants and company secretaries, lawyers, etc. Now, as an auditor, as a tax consultant, when at the end of the year, clients come to us and then we look into their accounts and plan their tax and the balance sheet and annual report, we come across a lot of violations. Then we argue with the clients. Why have you done this violation? We tell them, now this attracts this penalty. And if you don't report, I will also be in trouble, you will also be in trouble. So there was always an argument or a quarrel between the clients and the professionals. In this situation, one client told us, every year you are doing this, you are finding fault with us. Why can't you at least teach us? I don't want to violate. I violated all these things. There was non-compliance, not because I wanted to violate. It is simply because I didn't know. So, can you teach me? And then, for that particular client, we taught them, we coached them for a few weeks, and you won't believe it, during the next year visit, things were 80 to 90% compliant, only small violations. And then, it was that client who told us, why can't you keep teaching all your clients as a regular business so that we will all be able to equip ourselves with the required knowledge? And that was the seed for the idea of coaching for entrepreneurs, and Accopedia was born. Hi, I am CA Prabhu Kesavan, and I am one of the founders and chief mentor and director in Accopedia School of Accounting and Finance. And we have thousands of clients, and Accopedia has trained nearly 500 entrepreneurs and accountants. Here I have an interesting thing to say, that we train not only entrepreneurs, we also train accountants. If I just train entrepreneurs, but I don't train accountants, then they will keep violating. And entrepreneurs, they are always busy, so they may not have time to advise the accountants. And if I only train accountants, the entrepreneurs may not appreciate. Even if the accountant says, no, we cannot make this cash payment, they'll say, oh, it doesn't matter, you just accept it or pay in cash. So they may also override the accountant. So we train accountants to produce world-class accountants, and we train entrepreneurs who are financially literate and they have adequate knowledge for tax and other laws. Our motto is to empower entrepreneurs and enable them to take proper business decisions. Our mission is that we are a place where entrepreneurs can come, learn, and implement all aspects of accounting, finance, and taxation, banking, corporate law, foreign exchange law, HR related matters like ESIPF, and much more. You can learn all these things without having the fear of being judged.
Hello, I am Dr. Silvaraj, psychiatrist, professor of psychiatry, and also the director of Maligatti Mental Health Center and Research Institute at Pilamedu, Coimbatore. I have been running our psychiatric setup for the past 20 years. When we look back, while we are very good at managing patients and taking care of them, we have been struggling to run the organization, particularly one area. It was always causing a lot of stress, that is accounting and managing finances. I was trying my hand to learn here and there, self-learning, nothing worked. While talking to the accountant or auditor, I've been always at a loss, and many of the things I won't understand, I will simply nod my head and smile and come out, always feeling insecure about that area. Then accidentally we came across this Accopedia organization, and we ventured into learning this course, Know Your Numbers, and that made a world of difference to my understanding of accounting and finance. And luckily I took my wife also along with me, who has got a liking for numbers, and of course he was a better student than me. But at the end of the course, we were far more comfortable with talking to accountant and our auditor. We could make sense of how the accounting process is being done, the financial implications of how we account, and I can even talk to the auditor in a much more meaningful manner. I could understand what he was trying to say. In fact, the auditor also felt relieved that I understand certain things. It made a lot of difference. I would strongly recommend anyone to take this course, particularly if they don't have any background in accounts and finance. Thank you.
The gap number 2 is to learn through experience. Now, what does it mean, learning through experience? You take a decision comfortably about any tax or finance matters. You get a big penalty notice. You get a demand of lakhs or crores from the department, maybe GST department or income tax department, and you call up your CA or lawyer and try to understand why this happened. And next time you won't make that mistake. Next time you will make another mistake. And by the time you become financially literate, you might have lost lakhs or crores of rupees. That is what is meant by learning through experience. But is it what you want? Is it a right way? No. So it is very important for you to develop those skills and learn those matters so that you can take proper decisions. So how do you develop those skills and learn these various aspects of business, finance, taxation, and compliance? You can always go to Google and search on YouTube and learn all those things. But there are some problems in self-learning. First is, as soon as you understand that you have to learn certain things, you may be very excited initially and you will just start learning, but you will fizzle out. You will lose the motivation after a couple of days. The second thing is, entrepreneurs by nature are very busy and they give importance to production and marketing. But when it comes to other things like taxation and compliance, they are generally indisciplined. Another problem in self-learning is you may just read about it in theory, but you don't know how to implement it in real practice. As I told you, when you read the law, it says don't accept cash more than 20,000. Fine, you have learned it. But when it comes to really, suppose you have bought your old car, you're selling it. You're selling it for just 2 lakhs. He is giving you an advance of 50,000. You deposit in the bank. At that time, you should know that you're violating it. And as already explained, learning through experience is the best, but it's very expensive. So that is not a right method.
ஹாய், என் பேர் விவேக் சிதம்பரம். நான் செட்டிநாடு கேன்டீன்கிற ரெஸ்டாரண்ட் சென்னை கோயம்புத்தூர்லேயும், அக்கண்டி வீடுங்கிற ஹோம் ஸ்டே பிராண்ட் கொடைக்கானல்லையும் பிஸ்னஸ் ரன் பண்ணிகிட்ருக்கேன். நான் அக்கோபீடியா கோர்ஸ் வந்து 2019 அட்டன் பண்ணேன். கோர்ஸ் அட்டன் பண்ணதுக்கப்புறம் எனக்கு உண்டான ரியலைசேஷன் டுவர்ட்ஸ் அக்கௌண்ட்ஸ், அதாவது பேலன்ஸ் ஷீட்டாக இருக்கட்டும், டேலி ஓவராலாக, எங்கள் ஆடிட்டரோட உள்ள கான்வர்சேஷன், இதில் இருக்கிற ஷைனஸ்லாம் குறைஞ்சு கிளாரிட்டி தான் டெவலப் ஆச்சு, தேங்க்ஸ் டு அக்கோபீடியா. அது மட்டும் இல்லாமல் இப்போ இன்றைக்கி எவ்ரி மந்த் நாங்கள் என்ன வேல்யூ ஆட் பண்ணுறோம் எங்கள் பிஸ்னஸில், எங்கள் பிஸ்னஸோட ஆக்சுவல் வேல்யூ என்ன இருக்குது, என்ன பாட்டம் லைன் இருக்குது, இதெல்லாம் நாங்கள் அப்பப்போ டிட்டர்மின் பண்ணி ஃபினான்ஷியலாக நாங்கள் என்ன பொசிஷனில் இருக்கோம் அப்படிங்கிறத எங்களால் பார்க்க முடியுது. அகெயின் தேங்க்ஸ் டு அக்கோபீடியா கோர்ஸ். ஆல்சோ ஆசிரியரை ரொம்ப பிடிச்சிருந்தா பாடத்தை ரொம்ப கவனமாக கற்றுப்போன்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. ஸோ தேங்க்ஸ் டு பிரபு கேசவன் சார். தேங்க்யூ.
So now you know what are the gaps and what you should do to fill those gaps. But the question is, what to do next? Now I know, what should I do? First is, you should know what you don't know. As a wise man once said, he who knows and knows that he knows is a wise man. You should follow them. But he who knows not and does not know that he knows not is a fool. But he who knows not, but he knows that he does not know that, he is a child. You should teach him. So same way, as a businessman, you know many things. You have been successful because of your production and marketing skills. But you now know there are certain things which you should know. So you should allow somebody to guide you, empower you, teach you, and skill you. Now, what are those things? It may look so complicated, very vast. You may even be intimidated by the vastness of the things you need to know. But it is not so. There are just 6 things, 6 basic things which you should know. And once you know these things, you will be able to sail through smoothly. It is just like you know that you should know these things. And whenever a situation comes, you should at least have the presence of mind to call up your CA or your advisor and ask them whether I can do this or not. That is what we are trying to do at Accopedia. So what are these things? What are these 6 things which you should know? First is about accounting, the basic concepts of accounting. How accounts are prepared, what is a ledger, what is a journal, and what is a balance sheet, and how is it prepared. These are the basic things you should know. To the extent that if at some point of time you want to know, you want to look up at the ledger of a supplier, you should be able to look at it and read and interpret it. That is the accounting knowledge. Along with that accounting, you should also know the softwares. In India, Tally is very common, but there are other softwares like Zoho Books, and there are so many softwares. But they are all softwares which will be useful only if you know the basic accounting concept. So the next thing you should know is about how to use the software. Another important thing which you should know is about TDS and TCS compliance. TDS means tax deducted at source, and TCS means tax collection at source. This TDS and TCS may be both inward as well as outward. Now, you may get TDS certificates You may also have to deduct or collect TDS or TCS from your vendors and customers. If you don't do that, then you may invite heavy penalties at a later date. For example, suppose you are paying rent, or maybe you are paying interest to a non-resident Indian. Normal TDS is 10%, but if you pay to a non-resident, it is 20% or 30%. You may be purchasing some property from an NRI. If you buy 1 crore worth of property, you may have to deduct 1% TDS before making payment. But if that person is a non-resident, then you have to deduct 20% or 30% depending on the type of property. So if you know that there is something like this exists, that is enough. You don't have to be technically sound. You just have to call up your CA and ask, hey, look, I am purchasing this property. How much TDS? I think I understand that there's something about TDS regarding payment to a non-resident. What is it? You can ask. Then the problem is solved. And then you also have to know a lot about GST. There are some things which you can rectify before the end of the year, but there are many things which, if you don't know, it may invite penalty, like the example of ITC of cars. Or maybe you have hosted a party for all your customers or distributors, and you have got a big bill, a few lakhs of party bill from the hotel. And do you know that you cannot take ITC on the food bill which the hotel gives? If you take it, fine. The department will not block it. But after a few years, when they investigate, and today the department is fully equipped with so many tools, AI and all that. So you may get caught at a later date and you will be forced to cough up huge penalties. For what? Because you did not comply, and had you known, you would not have violated. So you should know. And then we have the big thing called income tax. How to tax? How to save income tax? How to do tax planning activities? What is the structure of the income tax? Can you pay salary to your wife? Or can you pay huge interest to your father? So those are all, what are the heads of income? When is the return to be filed? When your accounts have to be audited or need not be audited? What are the various sources of income and how much tax has to be paid on various types of income? All these things you should know. And it's very easy to know. You just spend a few hours a day, you will be able to master it. And finally, understanding the financial statement. What do we mean by financial statement? We are talking about balance sheet, we are talking about profit and loss account, we are talking about assets, current liability, financial statements. Interpret them. You need not become a chartered accountant yourself, but you should be able to read it and then look at it and then say, yes, I have overborrowed. My current ratio is not good, or it is good. I can take more loan and expand. No, I should not take more loan because I have already overborrowed. So these sort of decisions, we are not here to discourage you, but we are here to help you to take informed decisions. That is what this whole course is about. We have 6 modules. That is accounting, tally, income tax, TDS, GST, financial statements. These 6 modules and 100 hours of your time will really make you into a confident and financially savvy person. Now assume that you have done the course. You have finished the required hours and the skills. Now what next? What will happen? I will tell you a story. Now, any business or any activity can be 3 types. That is, it is people driven, or process driven, or system driven. Now, if it is people driven, then it is based upon a particular individual or a group of individuals. Now, let us say you have an accountant. He is all in all, and you don't know what is happening. Suppose he resigns, or he gets a good job, or maybe he retires, falls sick. Then the next person who comes, he doesn't know where it is, where the things are. In between, you may suffer. So, If it is people driven, totally based on a particular individual, it is suitable for a very small proprietary business, maybe a turnover of a few lakhs. It's fine. The better method than people driven could be process driven. You have a SOP, you have a checklist, and you ask them to do it. But if he goes, again, the process fails. But if it is system driven, any person can come and go. The things will go on forever. The accountant knows what his job is. You know what his job is. And you can verify what he has done. There are other people, third-party service providers like auditors and consultants who can come and verify. And at the end of every period, at regular intervals, you may be reports as to what is happening, what deficiencies are there, what violations have taken place. This is what is known as system-driven. And system-driven processes are always much better than people-driven or process-driven activities. So for this, we will help you to create checklists for each aspect. You look at the checklist and you verify whether those things have been complied. You can again engage other consultants to verify the checklist. And after every period, every time you look at your accounts or your balance sheet or your financial statements, you know what is happening and you are really confident.
Hi, I'm Bhuvaneshwari and I'm here to share my fruitful experience at Accopedia. I got to join a short course at Accopedia called Know Your Numbers during the year 2020. I have heard a lot about this institute through my friends, and I also have searched many websites which had the best rating, and I had a chance to join this fine institute. And I'm basically a commerce and account student, and I run my own commercial complex, and I always felt that I needed to update my knowledge on the basic accounting skills and income tax filings, the GST procedures, etc. And here at this institute, the course started out with the basics, as they were aware that we came from different background, and so wanted to make sure we all had a good head start. Mr. Prabhu Kesavan, I have to mention here, the chief of Accopedia and our mentor and guide, handled IT filing sessions. He was very thorough and very patient to answer all our questions. And I got to say, all the sessions, for example, GST, be it income tax, be it financial investments, ESI, the PF, or the tally, were all handled by experts, which helped us immensely, as each of us had different clarifications. Our instructors made all were answered and all the corners were covered. So I can confidently say that I got to learn a lot more than I bargained for. Thank you Accopedia for the opportunity being given. Thank you one and all.
And now for the final step. So if you have come this far, don't wait. Click the link below. Choose a slot to have a one-to-one discussion with me, and we can discuss how to take the next step to empower you.